In my German videos, I mostly talk about my own experiences, and I do that just to share them. And I don't claim that they are general. I don't claim that they should be experienced by everybody the same way. I offer my experiences. I offer them as something to relate to compare to, so that you as the listener can check out, is that something that resonates for me, or is my experience totally different? And I do really stand up for my experiences, and I am aware that they can change. So comparing older and newer videos of myself, I can find changes, I can find development, I can find evolving. And today I want to talk about my experience with bodily sensations. And I want to share that bodily sensations most of my life, and at this time I make this video, I'm 52 years old. Most of my life, meaning over 40 years at least, I was pretty unaware of my bodily sensations. And I do at this point want to differentiate a little between outer and inner bodily sensations. So I can sense, and you can actually take this as a little practice right now, the next minutes, and just follow if you can sense what I'm sensing too. I feel the texture of my clothes on my arms, on the skin of my arms. I feel dry lips. And as I change the place, so to say, I do that consciously right now. So I'm directing my consciousness, my awareness consciously to different places. And now actually one place has taken my awareness accidentally. The back of my back, my upper back, between neck and back, there is a spot right now where I sense an itch on the level of the skin. And I haven't chosen to put my awareness on that spot. It just came up into my awareness. So these are two different ways of experiencing my body. I can let go of controlling my awareness, my conscious awareness, and just let it be pulled to a certain spot in my body. Now I was just aware of that I swallowed. That was more an awareness of a doing, of a happening. Now my awareness is back to my dry lips. As they seem to be really dry, they pull the awareness towards them. And now I can actually consciously and controlled and willingly pull my awareness down to my feet. I decide that. At least I seem to decide. I feel my feet and my lower legs as they are crossed underneath the chair, and I'm aware of the decision that I want to ground more and put the bottoms of my feet, the soles, on the ground. So I did that now. And I feel the ground underneath my feet. So that's more outer sensations. And inner sensations would be, for example, my breath. Where do I feel my breath? Can I sense it in my throat? Can I sense a movement of air inside of my breath, inside of my throat? Or inside of my nostrils? Maybe it's a little colder when I breathe in as when I breathe out. I'm not that good yet. I'm practicing to become more and more sensible for fine inner sensation, feelings, sensation awareness. Also, when I talk about the breath in my belly, I more feel my belly moving than actually my breath going down to the bottom of my lungs. What helps me to get in touch with inner sensations is when I do swallow, following that. And then I actually can feel the water in my throat. And then it's like guiding my awareness down into my body. And that's something that for most of us people on this planet, I want to dare to generalize, is difficult as we don't do that very often. We don't very often go into the inner of our body with our awareness. For myself, it was, as I know today, it was difficult because it seemed to be dangerous. I had the imagination that it would overwhelm me to feel the inner of my body, what's going on in my chest or in my belly area. Right now I feel some energetic movement in my chest area, like a tingling. And if I keep it at that level, naming it as simple as possible with very descriptive words, like a tingling, or that's even already a little bit too interpretive. So it's more a movement. And now my belly has taken over and that's what I experience a lot of times when I put my awareness into my chest and I realize some movement and I'm staying with that. And I'm not starting to label it, to analyze it, to find out why is that, to not really use my thinking, my brain, to find out more about that sensation. And I just stay with the sensation in my chest. Then it happens quite often that it just drops down into my belly. And now I do feel some movement in my belly, and I stay with that. And I invite you to check that out for yourself. I realize when I don't talk, I sense it. And as soon as I start talking, I don't sense it as much anymore. And having put my awareness, my chosen conscious awareness, down to my belly area, I experience that the feeling is dissipating, or the sensation, or the movement, and it gets quiet again. And I have experienced during the last 5, 6, 7 years of my life, after I first in some workshop got to know the idea to actually feel your bodily sensations. I had to learn that. I had to be told. I had to be guided to sense myself again, consciously. I got better during the years doing that. I got more confident doing that. I got more curious doing it, sensing my body, putting my awareness on my bodily sensations. I got more bold doing it, as sometimes I still imagine it could be uncomfortable. And having taken myself as an example to find out more about how it is to be human, sometimes I slowed down watching my bodily sensations and watching the rest of me, what is happening. And as long as I'm really staying to the clear, simple, descriptive wording, everything is fine, and I can bear my bodily sensations, and I experience a widening of my potential, holding whatever is going on inside of my body. It is like an enlarging of the container that not my body is not getting wider as a balloon is when you blow air in it. It is more the idea that my awareness, actually the capacity of my awareness gets bigger to stay with my sensations. Instead, that would be the other side of the coin, that I fear that my bodily sensations will overwhelm, and then what is inside, what is active, actually gets up into my head, as if water is boiling and the steam gets up into my head, and my head is fed with the energy and is starting to think, to label, to interpret, to analyze. So first, there may be something like some movement in my chest and heart area. Full stop. Then what automatically happened before I enlarged my potential containing my sensations, before that, what happened was it was so overwhelming that it came up in split seconds into my head. My head started naming uncomfortable, probably something dangerous happened, I need to be careful. And then the next thing was, it's fear, the label fear. And that's what we call feelings or emotions. And that's what I'm still trying to work with, find out if what we are calling emotions and feelings is only a label, is only the interference of a bodily sensation and an interpretative thought coming together, merging, and then it's what we call feeling. If we are really outside in the wild, and there would be, in reality, in the here and now reality, would be something that really threatens my survival, my body, and then this sensation would be caused in my body, and it would in split seconds react with my head and be called fear, which we wouldn't do in a real dangerous situation. We wouldn't really start interpreting it or naming it. We would let our body take over, not consciously, not chosen. Our body would take over. Having gotten this impulse of something going on in the chest and then in the belly, like fear and anger, would put or would actually empower our body to do whatever is to be done to save ourselves. And then everything, when we call it back, as looking back on it, in a little later situation, looking back on it, and we call it fear and anger, that's fine. But it doesn't have to be named. It was a bodily sensation which was triggered because of a real danger, or something that our body thought is a danger, and then it activated us to check, is it really dangerous? And if there's no danger to be seen, to be really experienced, in again, in just a couple of seconds, the system would relax again. But here, being at home in my living room, there's no saber-toothed tiger, there's nothing dangerous going on. And somehow, from some unconscious thought going through my head, some memory, suddenly my bodily sensations are triggered towards activation. And they again come up. So it's really like my thought, my memories going down, activating my body, and then whatever is activated in my body comes up back into my head. My head starts naming it. And it says, oh, there's fear. And then I get involved with my thoughts, with my interpretations, with my analyzing. I get into thinking about this feeling, this emotion of fear. And with this, I'm again feeding the sensation. And then a loop or a feedback loop is actually started. And then that can take minutes, hours, days staying in this fear. And what I found out for myself is when I'm bold enough and I'm awake enough and I'm trained enough to go down in my body and just only sense the bodily experience. And only naming it with pure descriptive words. I'm back in the body and it's slowing down and the activation is actually slowly dissipating. My idea is that if my body experiences my mind being with it, that then my body thinks, okay, there's probably no real fear. I can slow down my activation. But when my brain is still working in this idea of fear and an actual cause, when I'm stuck in this imagination that there's a real cause for my fear, then I will stay in this loop and my body is fed with the idea that it's true. And my body knows that as long as I'm involved in this, it's probably really not safe. But when I like imagine a real threatening situation, you would never sit down and just get down to the level of your sensation. Sit down and maybe even talk out loud what you are sensing. You wouldn't do that. So if you do that, if you, with some leftover awake awareness about the not dangerous situation, if you sit down then, you start talking out loud to yourself, you use your voice cords, you sit and you look around and you listen to your own talking about your bodily sensations. Then your body gets the impulse, there's no threat. If there was threat, this person wouldn't do that, wouldn't be aware of me so precisely. So probably there's most likely no real threat. And then the nervous system calms down again. So when I say there's fear, or there's anger, or there's shame, I tend to feed the feedback loop. And when I say, there is some movement in my chest, there's some heat arising, I feel heat in my upper body actually coming up through my neck into my head, which I always experience when I call it shame. And if I don't call it shame, but just feel the heat, then it takes maximum a minute, maximum 1-2 minutes, and then it's just calming down again. So that's what I want to share about my experience with bodily sensations, and that I find it for myself extremely powerful and helpful to practice naming bodily sensations and sharing them with others. And I want to come back to a regular practice, which I have done for a longer time, having experienced really good healing processes. And then I stopped because I had the impression, okay, I feel better now. And then I stopped doing it. And now I came up with the understanding it's like brushing your teeth. You just have to do it daily, or at least regularly. It's like walking. We learned to walk at a certain stage in our life. But we didn't stop walking then because we knew we now can walk. We are still walking. And I guess we all know if we stopped walking for 2, 3, 4 months, our muscles would just dissipate, or at least become very, very weak, and we would have to kind of learn it again anew. I have never broken a bone, so I don't know that experience by myself, but I guess a lot of people have made this experience. It takes a while until it's working again. So better do it every day. And that's the same with inner practices, with finer, more subtle inner appearances. So I'm taking this moment, recording these words. I take it as an invitation to myself to go back to the daily practice of taking 5 minutes daily to just sit down and with my loud voice, talk in a clear, descriptive way about my inner sensations. Thank you for listening.